Hello and welcome to today's World 2022 preview video. We're going to cover 100 Thieves and, go over their summer playoff stats as well as their Worlds experience or international play experience. Down in the description, you're going to find 3 links. By the way, I did alter my audio a bit for this video. Somebody brought up a little feedback, which is good. I'd prefer feedback, whether it's over audio, anything really. Feedback and criticism is better than a pat on the back, in my opinion. So if the audio is slightly better, comment down below. If it's slightly worse, comment down below. Having 2,500 people subscribe to the channel, I don't really want to do rash decisions over a couple people, but I do think any feedback is better, so I am going to take it when I get it. So that is a thing. Down in the description, you'll find 3 links. Discord, join me there. There's a lot of people on there. There's like probably 250 people on the Twitter, so come join. On Twitter, you can follow me there. And then lastly, YouTube memberships, $3. Support the channel, keep it alive. You get a little badge in the comment section, and at $10 you get extra content, including American football content, where I go over fantasy football and winners and losers who I think, against the spread and over-unders and things like that for the games, if that interests you. 100 Thieves. So, second seed from the LCS, coaches Reapered. Reapered has been to Worlds quite a few times and had a lot of success with C9, probably the most successful North American team at Worlds all time. He's 34-27. Worlds 2016 out in quarters, 2017 out in quarters, 2018 out in semifinals, Worlds 2019 out in groups, and Worlds 2021 out in groups. So Reaper has had success, that is without a doubt. Worlds 2019, the second seed was out in groups, 2020 out in groups, and 2021 out in groups. 100 Thieves were out in groups last year. But looking at their stats, there are some interesting things to take note of, given the, and myself included, even yesterday, I rated them very lowly, right? I rated them as the worst major region team at the tournament, 18th out of 24. They went 3-3 last year in their group, which featured T1 and EDG. They took a game off of EDG. I feel like that is something that is overlooked for sure. And the fact of the matter is, I think that this team isn't going to go 0-6 the more I think about it after looking at that. Nothing has changed. And the fact of the matter is, they're going to take a game off of CFO. And if they're able to take a game off of EDG, who went on to win, I think they're capable of taking a game off of RNG or even Gen.G. I mean, if they took a game off of the eventual world champions last year, you can't say that they can't do it this year. So I'm going to scale back, I'm going to kind of back off of my power rankings yesterday and say that maybe this team does have a chance to win a couple games. That does not mean I think it's going to get out of the group. I just think that it's not going to go 0-6, maybe 2-4 or something. 3-3 was last year, and it was with T1 and EDG, so I'm not going to rule it out. Top lane, you have Someday. Someday put up a 2.8 KDA, 8.1 CS per minute, 57.5 KP in playoffs. So he's laning and not really getting into too many fights. This team does not get into too many fights, really. It is definitely a team that scales, plays for late game, slow and steady wins the race. It reminds me of Fred at Breon, but in the LCS. If Fred at Breon were in the LCS, they would probably be 100 Thieves. The way they play is just so slow and boring. But gets the job done domestically, right? And if you go to Worlds, you at least have a seat at the table, where a lot of teams don't have a seat at the table. There's 9 teams or 107 teams, and only 24 get a seat. So that is what it is. Not to mention, they're not at the kids' table in play-ins. They're at, the adult table. 21.4 damage share, 430 damage per minute. That is very low. We've went over this last couple videos. Going to go over it again. It's not necessarily damage share. Damage share is good at 21.4 because this meta is not top centric, it is bot centric. So I want a lot of the damage coming from bot lane. In mid, I don't want it coming from top because that would mean that your bot lane isn't getting the job done. And 430 damage per minute is a concern though. That is why he's at 21.4. It's not like yesterday, I believe, where Wonder had like 500 damage, or the day before when Eevee had 550 damage. It's, oh, this guy has 430 damage. Why does he have such low damage? Like, that's not, like, I don't want my damage coming from top lane, yes, but that's because it's all relative to the team. If you're not putting up damage as a team, that's a problem. Another thing that I think is a problem with this team, behind at 15 minutes. Almost everybody, yeah, everybody except Closer are behind at 15 minutes, which means Closer is trying to be a little selfish, which is, numbers don't indicate that, but everybody's behind in lane. Nobody is winning lane at 15 minutes. Across Gold, CS, and XP at 15 minutes, all these players are behind. One solo kill for Someday, 6 champions in 17 games, most played Aatrox. Worlds 2015 with KT out in quarters, 2018 out in groups with 100 Thieves, and 2021 out in groups. He's 11 and 11 in his 3 world appearances, 224 KDA, 807 CS per minute, 62-1 KP. I don't believe Someday is out of place when he goes to Worlds. Is he going to win lane? No, but I don't think he is going to really into lane. You know, you can throw him on Ornn or Gragas or something like that, Aatrox for that matter, and he's not going to really get blown out. I don't think, at least I don't think he's going to get blown out, so that's a thing. Obviously one of the better top laners, at least in the LCS, but, you know, has struggled to take over and take that next step that we've wanted him to do his whole LCS tenure. In the jungle, we have Closer, 2.4 KDA, 49 CS per minute, 79 KP. This is what I was talking about yesterday. With Fnatic, 79 KP is very, very good. Why is it 79 KP? Keep bumping into my thing here. Why is it 79 KP? Because this team doesn't fight a lot in the early to mid game. Some games we don't have first blood till 17, 18, 22 minutes. I mean, it could be a long time before you get first blood. So Closer is he's involved, but this team does not really fight that much in the early game. Closer is actually not getting a lot done in the early game when it comes to making things happen. He farms, but 4.9 is not great when I know that this number is deceiving. That, I mean, 79 KP is because he's fighting in the mid to late game, not the early game. 12-2 damage share, 246 damage per minute. That is standard. Ahead at 15 minutes, so he's usually ahead in his matchup. No solo kills. 7 champions in 17 games. I believe he had 7 games of Poppy and a losing win rate. The team overall went 7-10 during playoffs, so that would make sense. Worlds 2019 out in play-ins with his TCL squad, and then last year was with the 100 Thieves out in groups. 5-9 at these 2 world events. 1.6 KDA, 495 CS per minute, 70.7 KP. Closer's one of the better junglers in the LCS. His Lee Sin is very good. This is not a Lee Sin meta. Lee Sin did get buffed on 12-18, but I don't think it's going to be played much. And if it is being played, that means that team is willing to lose a bit for comfort. But Closer, I mean, like Someday, I don't think he's too out of place at Worlds. I think that he's just kind of there, and he's probably like he's average. He's average. He's average when he goes to Worlds, and that's a thing, right? That's why they would go 3-3 last year. That's it. Like, you're not going to expect too much out of Closer when push comes to shove. Mid lane, Abadage, 3 KDA, 8.4 CS per minute, 68.7 KP. So KP is higher, on the higher end. 8.4 CS per minute is definitely below where you want it to be. After looking at Humanoid's numbers yesterday, Humanoid's numbers were stronger, right? You'd like Abadage to actually have a higher KP given the fact that the team fights in the mid to late game so much, not necessarily skirmish based. So he should be, involved a bit more. 28-8 Damage share, 577 damage per minute. He actually leads the team in damage share. That is a concern. This is, like I said, a bot lane focused meta, and we'll get into why this bot lane is kind of just like, it has to get creative to have success, which we know if you've watched 100 Thieves throughout the playoffs, you know what I mean by that. But Abadage has been leading the way in damage. Trying to scale the late game, that's what happens when you scale the late game. It's 100 Thieves. Abadage has items on his mid laner, his Azir, his Silas, Ari, things like that. They have some oomph. Behind at 15 minutes, no solo kills, 5 champions in 17 games. That includes a Seraphine game. Last year was his only Worlds appearance with the squad, going 3-3, 175 KDA, 86 CS per minute, 56.9 KP. So he looked good last year. Given the fact that he had to go against Faker, Scout, and Arya, because DFM were in their group. 8.6 CS per minute is pretty good, right? Went against the greatest player of all time, maybe not the greatest player in the league right now, but the greatest player of all time, went against the eventual world champion mid laner, and also against Arya, who, yes, he was on DFM, but that launched his chance to go start for KT, which was in the LCK. So really, he played against 2 LCK mid laners and the eventual world champion. 8.6 CS per minute is actually pretty good when you think about it. That did happen because of 56.9 KP. Not really fighting that much, but that's still solid, right? In bot lane, you have FBI, 3.5 KDA, 9.4 CS per minute, 76.7 KP. These numbers are of 14 of his 17 games played. He played 3 Senna games, so these do not have the Senna games included. So a lot of the fighting occurring around bot lane and jungle, which is standard for this meta. 9.4 CS per minute is middle of the road. You'd like that to be at least 9.5 or higher. It is a little troubling because it isn't with the Senna games included, right? So 9.4, you know, yesterday it was what? Upset had 10.1. Maybe 9.9, and the day before, day before Udapon had 10.1. So you're going to be giving up some farm here on average, especially because this bot lane's pretty limited. I think that, like, this whole team just is like, okay, we're not going to fight, we're going to wait. Oh, it's 20 minutes, okay. Where are we at? What do we have in our item? You know, what do we have in our items? What do we have? Did we get lucky and get an objective? Did we not? And that leaves this team up to go after him in the early game. Just go after him, and you have a good chance of beating this team. That's cut and dry. 27.5 damage share, 546 damage per minute, 250 damage per minute less than Upset. Over a 30-minute game, I'm not doing the math. That's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage that Upset would deal versus FBI on the average. No solo kills. Like I said, 5 champions in 17 games, 3 of them being Senna games. MSI 2019 would be out in MSI play-ins with an OS squad. Worlds 2021 out in groups. 5 and 7, 2.51 KDA, 9.42 CS per minute, 67.8 KP. Solid numbers, right? You definitely cannot deny that against Viper, against Teddy, right? Teddy and Guma were together last year. It wasn't just Guma. Somebody will probably correct me, but I don't really. It's kind of whatever. The fact of the matter is he's against 2 really good teams in bot lane and did okay. 9.4 CS per minute. A little bit lower than you'd like. I don't know how many of those games are Senna games. Because Senna has been a thing that 100 Thieves have utilized for years now, given that Huhi, which we'll get into, is a former solo laner, so he has a lot of options. Huhi, though, like I just said, getting into him, 3.1 KDA, 83.2 KP, so gets involved. 4 out of every 5 fights, he has his fingerprints on it as the support, and I believe even his 380, his 3 fasting Senna games where he played 2 Seraphine, 1 TK. Farm was good, KP was good, damage was good. 1 cleared ward every 3 minutes, drops 1 ward every 2 minutes. I know I've seen a couple LS videos going over Huhi and how Huhi has used a lot of gold. And at least to my knowledge, I think that's what he was talking about. Used a lot of gold and arguably wasted it. So he drops a lot of wards, for better or for worse. 8 champions in 17 games, wide champion pool. MSI 2016 as a mid laner, he would finish second with CLG. Go to Worlds that year, be out in groups, and then last year return to groups, Worlds, out in groups as a support. 16 and 13 between these 3 events, 211 KDA, 66-1 KP. Obviously, those are scuffed stats because there's some mid lane stats in there. So, this team, if you allow it to scale, it has a chance. The way to beat it is just not allow that to happen. That's why they lose in finals at the LCS. That's how you beat them. That's really how you beat them. When you think of T1 and EDG definitely plays a more LCK style, given the fact that they have Scout and Viper, and it's just kind of the way they play. So that gave 100 Thieves a chance, right? They're scaling to late game. T1 scaling to late game. Gen G do it. RNG do it. So is there a chance for 100 Thieves to get a couple wins in this group? Actually, yes, there is. I think that actually, if you look back at last year, denying that they have a chance to win games is pretty int. And I mean, yesterday I did that. I didn't look at the history of the team or recall how they played last year at groups and how they did take that game off of EDG. I think a lot of people probably overlooked the fact that they did that. And I don't know how they did it. Maybe they won on a back door, or maybe they won because EDG's monitors turned off. I don't know. But it's a thing. So thank you for watching this video. This video will be in the Worlds 2022 playlist. If you would like to watch those videos, they're there. All the teams I've done thus far. I think I have 5 left after this. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. Become a YouTube member, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below. Do you think this team is actually going to go 0-6, or are you going to, kind of come to the revelation that I did about how this team actually, if you allow them to scale, have a chance to win a game. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you come back for more content.